All right, welcome to week 3. This is our second online session being recorded on Saturday, 25th of February, 2017. My name is Eddie Udo, and then we've got Carl here in the chat box to discuss.
There you go.
Yeah, so this is, I guess it's just us for today. So first we're just going to just do some general stuff, look at some of Carl's drawings from weeks 1 and 2, and then we'll get on to the actual session. So yeah, Carl, so we got the first self-portrait. Going over here. Yeah. So were you what sort of lighting would you have? Just from above, or just kind of looking straight at the computer screen, or the?
Oh no, it was just in front of the mirror
Mhm.
with the computer with the light above me, just the fluoro.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so let me just grab my drawing tablet. So for all of this stuff, let's have a look. I always find like in the beginning, a lot of students don't sort of consider the shadow, and shadows can be very, very effective for showing all the different kind of form. So you'll notice, when you have a light from above, you'll get like that shadow underneath the nose. You get the shadow. You get the shadow. So we just draw a bit.
Yeah, on the when you're looking at it, the right cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got such a bright light, I've got a very bright light in where I did it. So that's the reason why. It's because there wasn't much shadow to do.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Again, and not in every situation. Sometimes just unfortunately the lighting from where you are doesn't really show. So I would recommend always trying to get some good lighting. Or set it up. But yeah, so I'm just imagining light from the top. So then you would have the light cast by the shadows. Sorry, the shadows cast by your hair. Kind of thing, under the nose, under the chin, that kind of thing. Cheekbones to really kind of help push. There's even hair under, because you have the lip on top of the teeth, so you'll have a little bit of shadow in here. Kind of thing. So much. Lips are always difficult with drawing male portraits. You don't want to overemphasize lips, but yeah. So even if light comes, because you know how your eyes are sort of they sit in the sockets of your skull, right? So they're kind of protected by the hood of your skull. So this kind of area is often a little bit in shadow in a top down light situation.
Yeah, that's right.
Depending on the light source.
I think I might get a.
Depending on the light source, I'm just gonna.
I might get a David.
Yeah. So if the light's coming from top, then this area is slightly in shadow. But then the top of your eyelid catches the light, so that's gonna have some light on it, right? Top of your eyelid, and then of course the eyelid is protecting the eye, so you have a little bit of shadow in there. So there, kind of thing. So it's just, and you can just if you just look at yourself in the mirror, you can kind of see, and it's kind of up to your sort of artistic license to say, oh, how sharp or how harsh should I make the shadows? Very dark or just a little bit light or that kind of thing. But the thing is, you don't always have to show every crease and fold of the skin with line work. You can also get a lot just with shading, to show the form.
Yeah, that's right. A few things there you just showed me on. I didn't even consider.
Oh yeah.
There, but I didn't consider.
Of course, you just pull up an image of a skull.
What you just did there with the inside of the eye.
Yep.
I was trying to do that, and I did it over and over and over again to the point where I just left it because
Of
I couldn't get
course,
it right.
exactly. Like I'm just gonna pull this image. Like if we look over here, yeah, if you see the the skull, how the eyeballs they sit inside the skull, and the skull forms a protective hood over the eye. So let's see. Portrait. Right. Font. Look. Target. Yeah. Okay. That's why like photographers are always really they're always careful to set up their lights really nicely to show the form.
Yeah.
See over here, if we got the light coming, and even like until it was pointed out to me, I didn't even notice it myself. I was almost blind to shadows.
Yeah.
So if the light comes from here, then of course because the eye is sitting inside the skull, then this area is in shadow. You know, like I said before, um, this area is catching the light. This area is catching the light, and this area is in shadow
Yeah.
underneath.
That's right.
You know, this area is catching the light. But this is not exactly top down. This is from a side angle, but you still get the idea. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it on the other eye as well.
Yeah,
It's
this one
catching the light
this
there
one has
too.
more shadow. Um, yeah, and over here you'll see. Let's have a look. So this is the nose area, right? And so we've got the shadow on the nose, but then also the nose then casts its own shadow on the cheek over there.
Right.
Like the shadow has its own sort of shadow that shows the form. They're called the form shadows, and then the shadow itself, like a cup on a table, casts its own shadow. This nose is casting its own shadow on the face itself.
Yeah.
So it's all these, which is exactly like let's have a look in the first, yeah, which is exactly here. The shadow under the nose. The nose is casting a shadow
Yeah.
on the skin. So yeah.
Yeah. That was a problem for me trying to get that one right
Hmm.
because I kept because it's very easy if you're trying to do the shadow for the nose.
Hmm.
I've noticed it's very easy to deform the nose.
Right. Right.
So it took me ages to do that bit.
Hmm. But yeah, we'll get into faces properly. It's sort of like it throws you in the deep end, but we'll get into
Yeah.
it like properly in week 5. Yeah, and then the upside down drawing. Were you able to watch the video I made about upside down drawing?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, it
just
was good.
yeah, it just shows how I personally am thinking. Everyone's sort of approaches it a bit differently, but that's you know how I think
Yeah.
about.
Well, I took that notes from that and started on that upside down one,
Oh,
and
cool, cool,
I did it straight away. So
sweet.
I didn't do a second one.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's cool. So you can sort of see. Um, so you find it helpful?
yeah, very. That's what I mean. It only took me one go, and I got it.
Sweet.
I started where you did
Yeah,
at the top of the head and the side, and did the whole around the edge and all that. But
yeah.
yeah, then I put it together. I
That's
noticed the hand looked a bit bigger though.
right, right, right.
But yeah, one hand looked too big.
That's cool. Yeah. So if any students who are listening, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is on the YouTube channel there is a video dealing with how I think about upside down drawing, the technique I sort of apply to just drawing in general. So you can check that out. If there's nothing more, if there are no more questions, Carl, we'll just get straight into today's topic.
Yeah, you all right? Go ahead.
Sweet. Alrighty, alrighty. So today's topic is reference. How to get reference, how to use reference images, when to use it, and all this kind of thing, right? So so I want to keep this more just, it's very very conversational. So to you, when I say like, hey, you should get some reference, what does that sort of mean to you?
To me, find out as much as I can,
Right, exactly.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So reference can be photos, reference can be, information, reference can be, you know, technique videos, all that kind of stuff. Usually in art, when we talk about reference, we are talking about like photos or um, any sort of aid that helps you do a more realistic or just more a more effective drawing. You know, even if you have really cartoony sort of style, getting some reference of actually how that human body actually works, that can still be useful, right?
Yeah.
So first off, we'll just talk about first topic, collecting reference and inspiration. So for myself, um, I have like a Tumblr account, an Instagram account, Pinterest account, and I follow just various. I follow like photographers, follow models, artists. I follow National Geographics, BBC. All these. Basically, my idea is just to bombard myself with visual information. Whenever I see something that's kind of interesting, I screenshot it or I save it to a folder. I used to have like loads of reference folders, but now I put them onto Pinterest. So whatever computer I'm on, I can always sign into Pinterest and get it. And I have some of them are public, some of them are private. Um, but it's just what was I thinking about before? Good, I saved it. I have a folder for that. Ancient Egyptian architecture. Knights in armor. It's over here. Um,
Yeah, I saw some of that on your Pinterest.
yeah. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's like old photos, and some of them, yeah, from Tumblr, Instagram, whatever, screenshots. Me walking around outside. Oh, that's an interesting sort of wood texture. Let me photograph that. Just put it on, save it for later. Um, Also, so there's okay. First off, there's lots of stuff online, but what I also used to do, like one day I went to a secondhand bookshop, and they were selling just getting rid of old like National Geographics magazines from the 90s. So they were all just like $1 each. So I grabbed 25 old National Geographics, and because all that imagery is copyright, so it's not online. So
All
it's
right.
it's so it's stuff that no one really has access to unless you have the physical book. And like, oh wow, oh my god, like Arctic photographs from uh, what you call it, you don't say Eskimos, Inuit tribes like the
Oh, yeah.
in northern Canada. I think yeah, I think Eskimo is offensive now. I'm not sure, but I think it's Inuit is the correct term. It's what I've heard.
Don't know.
So yeah, like like Inuit tribes or nature photography when they were first taking photographs of the sunken Titanic, all this old stuff in the 90s. Really interesting photographs of tribes in the Sahara Desert and their uh, their traditional jewelry and clothing, all this stuff that I've never seen online. So going and seeking out physical reference books is can be very very useful as well, and it's stuff that now you only have, that no one else. If I just type,
Yeah.
medieval knights into Google, everybody sees that same stuff. So everyone's designs have a
Yeah,
potential to
that's
look very
true.
similar, right? But if you can go and seek out things that only you can find and use them, like I think I
Yeah.
discovered some of my dad's old like vinyl records, right, in the cupboard, and this is some awesome album covers from like Santana and all the other obscure stuff, really interesting album covers. Like, oh wow, I've never seen that online. Cool, let me just take a photograph of that, and now it's my own little reference and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the go.
Yeah.
You get a lot of those sort of things at the markets.
Right, yeah, definitely.
So,
I have like a little I have a little what you call it, like a almost like a Chinese wooden mask that I just found at a car boot sale.
wow.
Little that
Yeah.
I just stick on my wall. It's really cool design. I've never seen it online. Just something I found.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I go to the markets every Sunday, mate. So I have a look at lots of different sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, sweet. So that's yeah, that's collecting reference to inspiration. Um, Sometimes even I'll go onto my Pinterest, and I don't think this is. Oh yeah, this is one of my private Pinterest boards, but I'll show you. Um, this is a way that I use reference. So a lot of people have trouble with color. Oh, I don't know how to use color. I don't know how to figure out a good color scheme, that kind of stuff. So, and even myself, there's sort of basic formulas for color schemes, but it can get stale. So this is on my own Pinterest board. It's private though, but um, anytime I see like some nature photography or just something really cool, I just save it, and like this is just some African painted dogs, but like, oh, it's got oranges and really cool blues and some greens. I found that like on Instagram. Just
There wasn't a filter over it, was there?
no, I'm not sure, maybe, but just some, you know, I think it's a friend of mine. Yeah, a friend of mine. She lives in like Scandinavia, lots of snow, and she has like these hunting dogs, and it's the blues and the oranges and the purples. This is a photograph from a friend of mine, or and what I do is like, okay, so let's have an example. Uh, Here's this cool image by an artist that I like. So it's the Greek Roman head, and it's
Yep.
blue and it's sort of pale pink, right? Looks really cool. So the last thing I would do now is then make my own portrait using those colors, black background and a blue and pink, because
Oh,
then people would be like, oh, you're just ripping off so and so, you know. But what I was doing, like, so you try and you can it's cool to get color inspiration from something and then use it for something completely different. Maybe here's a picture of some flowers. It's really kind of pale, almost ashy sort of gray for the leaves, and this bright
yeah,
yellow. Well, maybe I'll use that for a portrait or a robot design kind of thing.
yeah,
And no one would be like, hey, you just
yeah.
ripped off so and so. I remember I was doing one painting which is all sort of like these flowing bodies and that kind of thing. And I didn't know what to do for the color. I had it just black and white, and I didn't know what to do, what to do. And then I found this really cool this nature photography of just these kind of autumn leaves, these yellow leaves and these greens. Like, oh, that's what I need, and then I use it in these paintings of human bodies. You know,
Oh, right, yeah.
so it's a way of sort of hacking creativity and you repurposing stuff. Yeah, so I would just advise against doing like almost like a one-to-one thing. Like here's you know this little wolf cub. So don't then go and paint
Yeah.
like a wolf. Like you paint some maybe some architecture that has that similar sort of color scheme. That's just how I would recommend using it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What
There was
else?
a
Hmm?
there was a beautiful sky the other night. Last night it was.
Right, right,
The sunset was just absolutely magic last night. It was like pinks and oranges, and it
right.
was really nice. Mostly pink, but wow, you should have seen it, mate.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure someone would have put something up on the net about it.
mm,
Yeah,
that's cool.
there was a few on Facebook anyway that put some pictures up.
So the next thing I want to talk about is so physical reference, right? So like actually using real life objects for your help. So there's an artist called James Gurney. You ever heard of him? He did like the Dinotopia books.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. So
I know the
what
books. Yeah,
so what this guy does, he in order to figure out all the sort of the lighting, oh, how do I do this, how do I do that, he will make the little clay sculptures of his
yeah,
dinosaurs in his studio. He sets it up, sets the light, it's a real basic model. So now he has, oh, when I do my drawing,
reference.
oh, now I know where to put my shadows. Okay, now I know where the highlight should be. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I can get this thing in perspective. You know, here's another thing. So we did a market
That's
scene.
what Da Vinci used to do, didn't
Right, right. So we got this market scene of dinosaurs walking through the market, and you can see below, and he built little a little set for himself.
Ah, cool.
What else we got? Again over here, yeah, he built. You can see he's built his own little puppet or
Ah,
sculpture to aid him in this thing. Some people, have maybe if you don't have a very or you find it hard with that sense of spatial awareness. Okay, I can't imagine this guy in perspective. I don't know how to do the foreshortening. Get some clay or some Play-Doh, something
yeah.
something super cheap. You can just make a little figurine for yourself to help you. Again, this is some sort of underwater dinosaur, and he just stuck it on a stick. He got a light, to get those shadows.
Ah,
You know,
yeah,
um,
that's it. Yeah, you can,
exactly.
yeah.
So, and you don't have to go into such detail as this guy over here. Something super simple. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And then you yourself use your imagination to put in the feathers and all the nostrils and the tongue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know?
that's the go.
Yeah. So that's physical. So yeah, don't be afraid to make something for yourself. Even those kneadable erasers, those gray kneadable erasers, you can use
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, I use that all the time actually building my guitars.
yeah,
I
yeah.
use that stuff. So, yeah, I need to get some more anyway.
Mm-mm.
Good.
So the next thing is just using photo reference. So a lot of people always say, "Oh, I'm struggling with this pose. I'm struggling with this angle or this hand. I don't know how to draw hands." But hey, well, you have a hand. You got to, you don't ever be afraid to, or don't ever like forget that you can photograph yourself. Get a friend, family member, spouse, partner. Hey, I know this is weird. Can you just please hold this spear for me? No, please hold this broom.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a spear. Please, that kind of thing. And get kind of photos. Um, the well, the quote unquote danger of that is getting too attached to the photo. So like don't be afraid. So you use the photo to help you, but don't be afraid to accentuate and embellish and use some artistic license. Maybe you got a photograph at a little bit of an awkward angle, right? Like, oh, that
Yeah.
hand is a bit weird, and someone would say, hey, that drawing's a bit weird, and like, oh, well, what could I do? That was the photograph. Like, well, you're the artist, just change it, put the arm at a different angle or kind of thing. It's I remember I was talking to one artist. She was doing a photograph of a ballerina. Now, when you're looking at uh, showing movement in your art, so dancing, running, a punch or whatever, right? Whenever you're dancing, right, there's sort of like there's a few like choice moments, from when your arms are up to when you make a swing, to your hips are this angle, but every sort of step in between can sort of look like out of context, looks really awkward, or it's not the best. You want that perfectly timed image when the ballerina has her leg flung up. You don't want like that almost awkward kind of in between angle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this artist, she actually her reference. I mean, it was correct, but she had this not quite great reference. It was not at that opportune moment. And I was like, oh, you could just embellish it. You add a bit more swirl, add a bit more life. A bit more vibrancy. And then she was like, oh, but that's the image, and she couldn't kind of understand that, like, yeah, so what? You're the artist. You can, at the end of the day, no one cares of the story behind why the drawing isn't as good. They just want to see a good image,
Yeah, that's
you
it.
know. And you totally have the license to use the reference or not, or use it for certain things. Um, maybe you're drawing a woman, but you're the only person you have, so you pose, and then you just use the overall posture of your body, and then you can embellish. You can use some photography like off Google to, okay, maybe I gotta make my nose a bit more feminine, make the, take out the hair off the chin, make it, so you could combine, your own physical reference with some images from online and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
you
did years ago. I had uh, a friend who wanted me to do a tattoo for her,
right?
and I've never done tattoo drawing, so I thought, well, I'll give it a go. Right. So she said, oh, she wants me to draw a gargoyle playing a banjo, and and I'm like, what? Anyway, I ended up doing it,
Yeah.
but the way I got it was I had a mate of mine who's really muscly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, oh, um, can you just stand in that light over there because I'm copying your shadow on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ah,
that's exactly how I did it because I couldn't draw bodies or nothing. So I
sure.
thought, well, at least I'll get an outline of it and nothing else will distract me. It'll just be, a shadow to draw. And it turned out really well.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
cool.
just imagined shading it in, but it turned out all
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
right. It was a different way of looking at things, I thought.
Yeah,
It worked.
I mean, like, for like comic books, right? There's a lot of people for those sort of really dynamic angles and that kind of thing. A lot of those
Yeah,
guys, like, okay, like, actually, I don't know the percentage. Like, some guys, like, they don't use any reference to this, go straight from imagination. That's super cool. Some guys, like, they've just done it so much, they just know, you know, any pose, anything. Like, for myself, I can pretty much do any from imagination. I just practice so much I can pretty much do any sort of body pose. But
yeah,
for hands, I still need, like, if it's a difficult, like some sort of strange thing with the hands, I'll always just photograph it. Like I think the human brain can only imagine so much, you know.
yeah,
Uh, and so yeah, like, yeah, I always uh, half. I will draw the body, the posture from imagination, but then I can always, uh, try and look at some physical reference, some photographic reference. I messed up that shoulder. Let me fix that up. Oh, that muscle doesn't, it's not quite that way. Um, or there's been times where I'm like this arm doesn't quite do this and can't bend that way in real life, but I'm
yeah,
trying to make a more exaggerated image. So I'm going to make a conscious choice to ignore that and just do this sort of thing anyway.
yeah.
As long as you're conscious
I
about what,
think
as long
that's
as you're conscious, like, oh no, I'm choosing to ignore this thing.
yeah. So that's how I was at school. I accidentally, um, like I tried to draw drawings when I was in school, and I ended up making it abstract. So I
Right,
keep on going with the abstract and get it even more abstract
right.
to the point that when I left school, that's what I was doing, abstract paintings.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, but I lost my way. See,
Like, I'll see if I can get an example. Um,
I've got to get back to
because like there are some artists who, like, they work in like comic books and stuff, and their work is like it's super energetic and fluid and stylish. But like if put on your biological anatomy glasses and like you analyze it, you'd be like, oh,
yeah,
okay, that muscle is a bit out of whack. That, the foot doesn't do that. But I think you'd be missing the point completely. Like it's not
yeah,
it's not like anatomical correctness. It's great to have. It's important, but at the end of the day, it's about a cool image or a cool idea, and people will always forgive any sort of downfall of your drawing if it's a cool idea, you know. Um,
yeah,
but still, it's like it's important to, you know you pick and choose when to, like, how closely you stick to your reference. Um, what else we got? We've covered using the internet, Pinterest. Even what else? there's even some stuff. Okay, so there's stuff that nobody has got still images of, but it exists in video. So sometimes, like I'll watch a BBC video or National Geographic's video on YouTube, right? And I see this thing, I'm like, oh, that's a really cool image of this wolf, right? I try to Google it, but no one's got that exact pose. So I'll take a screen capture of the video,
Yeah.
you know, or that kind of thing. Or, so you can use that way, or like we talked about before, magazines, um, whatever, like Tumblr, you know, look outside, look at the awesome colors of the sunset, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, just with all your reference, like just find whatever you choose to do. If it's keeping folders on your computer or a Pinterest board or I don't know something in your Dropbox, organize it in a way that you can easily find things, you know, because it's kind of you can have all this reference, but like it's kind of useless if you can't find it again. So maybe you want to have something just for like difficult anatomy poses, or just color, or you know, cool posters that I like, or you know, all this kind of thing. Just have a way of. Alright. And then the last thing I want to talk about is referencing other people's work. So it's I've seen it a few times online where someone does usually like a kind of a younger kind of artist. They post a bunch of work, and it's like if you're in the know, if you're pretty savvy on art, you're like, oh my god, you just completely ripped off so and so, you know. You're and there's different degrees. Sometimes it's like outright plagiarism, but I think more often than not, it's just like hero worship. It's like I love this artist so much, right? That I don't even realize that I'm doing it. You know, I think a lot of the time it's not conscious. Like if you love someone's work so much, like oh I want to be like them. I want to draw faces like them. I want to paint like them. I want to do this. Um, so it's not uncommon for a lot of I say younger, but just new people to art. New people who maybe don't have a style yet or are not sure, but you find that oh you're just like a worse version of so and so or that kind of thing,
Or
and
better.
it's always like oh you because it's just really interesting. Have you heard of Frank Frazetta?
I've heard of him. I've heard of that name before.
He
Yeah.
is sort of like the grandfather of all these old fantasy illustration, Conan the Barbarian, Tarzan, all
Oh
this
yeah, that's what I used to do.
John Carpenter of Mars.
Uh, yeah, he used to do. My father used to collect all the books of
Yeah,
Edgar Rice
yeah,
Burroughs.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so you
Yeah,
know,
that's how I started doing those sort of drawings when I was a kid.
yeah,
When I was like in primary school. Yeah, it's good fun.
yeah, exactly. So his kind of even today, anybody who sort of works in that genre, like fantasy, all this kind of stuff, it's influenced by Frazetta, because
Yeah,
he was one of the best. Um,
that's it.
I may be butchering the story. I think he was he either him or somebody like him. There was because he has a lot of imitators. Somebody asked him about this, right? And he said something to the effect of, "Why would you want to be?" Because no one could do Frazetta like himself, right? He's the man. It's him. Something to the effect of, you know, why would you want to be a second-rate Frank Frazetta when you can be a first-rate you?
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
like it's and again, I'm distinguishing between new artists and kind of more experienced artists. Like if you're new, like of course, no problem. You want to be like your heroes, no problem. It's a phase you get out of. Um, but if you're like you've been doing this a while, you just want to be Frazetta, you just want to be I don't know, H.R. Giger or whatever. Like you'll never be as good because that's it's them, it's their true self.
Yeah,
So you know, don't be afraid to you know find your voice
yeah,
with the things you wanna. And it might not be like a technique thing. You could paint like Frazetta, but love painting flowers. Do you know what I mean? You could paint, you know, it doesn't.
yeah,
You don't have to love Frazetta and also paint like tigers and tigers and beasts and all this kind of stuff. You can use the technique and express yourself in a different subject matter. You can use a different technique to express the same, subject matter. What if you had a really cartoony style, but you painted that subject matter? Well, people wouldn't say, "Oh, you're ripping off Rosetta," because no, you're being you, but you're still admitting that you like, all this kind of Conan the Barbarian stuff. So I think for any of you, I think for most of the students, you're sort of kind of new to drawing in this course. So I would just say there's no shame in being rip-offs of your heroes when you begin. No problem at all. You like so and so, and there's no problem in exploring their style. How I personally, because I was like that. I was there's an artist I love called Android Jones. And when I was a student, like I loved his work so much, and any of my art friends who saw the work I was doing were like, "Oh, you like Android Jones? I can tell." This kind of stuff, real kind of digital, very abstract, but um, just really cool stuff, mixing crazy digital shapes and all this cool stuff. Android Jones. But yeah, I was like, oh my god, like I don't want to be the Android Jones ripoff kid, and there are many. Um, so the way you kind of hack your way out of that, where you sort of get that, is instead of having one guy whose artwork you worship, have 20, because then you will say, oh, I like the way this guy paints eyes. I like the colors that this guy uses. I like the way this guy paints anatomy. Oh, I love the flow of this artist. And then you take everything together, you mix it and match, and now it's you, because there's so many. It's a representation of all the things that you love and that you like. Maybe this Android Jones style. Oh, I like. He's very much associated with sort of like the Burning Man, sort of all those festivals out in the deserts, the kind of hippies, psychedelic drugs, all this kind of stuff. But okay, maybe that's not really my scene. Maybe I love like crime noir kind of movies, black and white. So you could take that style, or use that style, but use it for a different subject matter or that you like. That's my advice I would give to people who feel like maybe they're becoming too much like a bad ripoff of their favorite guy. Yeah, just take inspiration from everywhere. And even myself, I've recently, in the past maybe year, I've stopped being inspired by other artists now. Now I don't even, if let's say I'm doing I'm supposed to be doing like a what was I doing? I was doing a heavy metal album cover or like a rock album cover recently. So the last thing I'm gonna do is look at reference images of different rock covers. So now I was doing a rock album cover, but I started like looking at like 1960s comic books and the way they had like the panels and the grids and stuff.
Right.
And I pitched it to the band. I was like, hey, why don't I just make your album cover like a comic strip? They're like, their music has nothing to do with the comic, but I just was interested. And they said, yeah, cool, do it. So now you take something you love, you use it for something else. If you're trying to make I don't know some sort of interesting creature design, right? And someone says, let's do a dragon. The last thing you should be looking at is Lord of the Rings and all the other dragon movies and stuff. Like, I don't know, start looking at like some weird underwater photography or like that kind of thing. Try and like in myself, like I showed you with the colors. When I'm stuck on colors, I'm looking at photography. I'm looking at fashion photography. I'm looking at nature photography. I'm not looking at the artwork of somebody else that I like. It's a little workaround. So no one can say, oh, you're just copying someone's. No, I didn't. I was looking at like this photograph of a flower, and I like the colors, kind of thing. And
there's always going to be someone that says, oh, it looks like something else.
That's okay. But like I'll show you. ever seen? This is the second Hobbit movie. They had this dragon, right? And they're trying to make some sort of something original, like, okay, this dragon, uh, it's a cave dwelling creature, like he lives underground, or he lives in a mountain, and he lives in this cave. How are we gonna make him walk? All this kind of stuff. How do we do some sort of original design, right? So they're thinking about, okay, in real life, what is an animal that can fly and that lives in a cave? And so they looked at bats and the way bats walk, right? And they blended, and they took that idea and there we go. They took that idea for how to inform their design on how the dragon should walk. It brings up his wings and it sort of walks on the wings, because this actually, like, nature has already solved that problem, a flying animal that lives in caves. You know, maybe you got an animal that you're designing an animal that lives in the harsh on a desert planet, right? How is this guy gonna live? Well, how's the guy gonna cool itself? Well, maybe like a lizard, it hides under rocks during the day. Maybe like a camel, it stores fat in some humps. Maybe like an elephant, there's all the blood vessels of an elephant in its ears. There's lots of blood vessels in their ears, and they dispel heat through their ears. Or a dog. Dogs can't sweat, but they dispel their heat by panting through their tongue. So nature's got all these interesting sort of answers that you don't even need to. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's probably something really interesting in nature already. So yeah, nature is also very, very good for inspiring you. Oh yeah. So I think. Oh, and also back to referencing other people's work. If you are, using someone else as inspiration, like, oh, I love this painting. I was inspired by the colors or whatever. Like, make a point of just saying, hey, I was inspired by so and so, and I did this painting. Like, just be honest about it. There's always someone who just call you out. Yeah, you're ripping off so and so. Like, yeah, I know. I like his work. So this is my tribute. This is inspired by so and so. Just always be upfront about it, and then that will never give you any sort of ethical or moral problem, or someone lashing out at you online or whatever. Just be honest. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all I got to say about reference and all that stuff. Is there any? Do you have any questions?
No, I already asked you all the questions.
Sweet.
I needed to.
Cool. Alrighty then. So I guess we'll end it. Thank you for coming, Carl.
No worries at all, mate.
Alright, so I'll just end my screen. And stop sharing. Cool. Alright. Okay, thank you very much, Carl. So good luck for all your work. And yeah, so again, if you just alter how your images are posted in the visual diary area, and then when you post for discussion, use the same method. And yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Okay then.
Get on to it.
Alright, take it easy.
Alright, thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.